This is the regular City Commission meeting for Tuesday, April 6th, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask if you have a cell phone, please turn it to silent or off so that we don't have any interruptions. It's good to be back. We've got everybody here today in person, so it's something it's been a little while since we've been in that situation. So it is good to be back. We do have an invocation given by Pastor Mariano Nieves from El Manantial de Largo Church, and today, it's exciting, he'll be giving the invocation in Spanish, and then it will be immediately followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
God bless you, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to make the prayer for God for everybody here tonight. And God pray. Padre, en esta noche te damos gracias por cada uno de los que estamos aquí, Señor. Yo te pido que tú seas el que los dirija, que tú seas el que le alumbre el camino, Señor, y tú le des el entendimiento, la sabiduría en todo lo que ellos vayan a desarrollar. Que no hagan nada, Señor, sino tenerte a ti en mente, Padre, sino que tú los fortalezcas, que tú los guíes, Señor, y que todo lo que ellos hagan, Padre Santo, sea para bendición de esta ciudad de Largo y para todos aquellos alrededores que nos rodean en este lugar. Bendícelos de una manera especial a ellos, a su familia, Señor, y dale las fuerzas que ellos necesitan, Padre, para que puedan proseguir adelante con todo lo que tú has puesto en sus manos. En el nombre poderoso de Jesús, te lo pedimos y te damos gracias, Señor. Amén y amén.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. First, we're going to have a few ceremonial items. We're going to start with the Fair Housing Month proclamation.
Housing is a principle of civil rights which secures the right to live where one chooses, to raise a family, invest personal resources, and live in comfort and tranquility. And whereas this year celebrates the 53rd anniversary of the passage of the Federal Housing Act of 1968, and Florida laws have affirmed the right of every person to have access to housing free of barriers based on race, ethnic background or religion, people with disabilities or familial status or sex, and whereas the opportunity to choose to live in a neighborhood or community free of barriers based on race, religion, or ethnic background, people with disabilities or familial status or sex has substantial favorable impact on the economy, lifestyle, and fabric of the community. And whereas Fair Housing Month traditionally has been noticed during the month of April to remind citizens of their duty and obligation to encourage fair housing and fight discrimination, as well as the benefits of unrestricted access to housing, and whereas it is the policy of this body to recognize and encourage fair housing throughout all of the City of Largo. Now, therefore, I, Woody Brown, Mayor of the City of Largo, Florida, and on behalf of the City Commission, proclaim the month of April 2021 to be Fair Housing Month, with the knowledge that continued vigilance against discrimination in all its forms will benefit the citizens of Largo in building a strong and cohesive identity and spirit.
The City of Largo recognizes the importance of the Federal Fair Housing Act to ensure equal access to housing within our community. The city is a participating member in the Tampa Bay Fair Housing Consortium, which provides training for residents, landlords, property managers, and others in the housing industry on fair housing laws. This year's Fair Housing Symposium will be held virtually on April 20th from 8:45 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. and registration is open at www.tbfhc.org. I would like to now introduce Tammy Greer, CEO of Gulf Coast Legal Services, to accept this year's proclamation. Gulf Coast Legal has been providing nonprofit legal aid for low-income residents for more than 40 years. They have also played a critical role in housing protections during the COVID-19 pandemic. Tammy is joining virtually tonight to share a bit about the importance of the fair housing laws in our community. Tammy?
Thank you all so much, and thank you again for the continued support of the City of Largo for GLS and the work that we do. Fair housing is obviously as important, if not more important now in the wake of COVID, because we certainly don't want anyone to be homeless. So anything that we can do to prevent them from losing their homes or from being unable to find housing because of discrimination is particularly important now. So I just want to say thank you to the city for your support of GLS, for your support of the Fair Housing Act, for this proclamation, and for all that you do just to ensure that your residents and citizens are safe and have access to safe and affordable housing. So thank you very much.
Thank you for all that you guys do for the residents of Largo. Next, we will have National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week proclamation.
Whereas telecommunicators of the Largo Police Department daily answer numerous calls from citizens requiring police services by dispatching the appropriate assistance as quickly and professionally as possible, and whereas professional telecommunicators work to improve the emergency response capabilities of these communication systems through their leadership and participation in training programs, and whereas the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials International, an organization of 29,000 members engaged in the design, installation, and operation of emergency response communication systems, has set aside the week of April 11th through the 17th, 2021, to recognize telecommunicators and their crucial role in the protection of life and property. Now, therefore, I, Woody Brown, Mayor of the City of Largo, Florida, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim the week of April 11th through the 17th, 2021, as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the City of Largo, in honor and recognition of all Largo Police Department telecommunicators and the vital contributions they make to the safety and well-being of our citizens.
Thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to bring a couple of our dispatchers up here tonight to recognize the whole group next week. It's an exciting time. This group of individuals work tremendous to serve the citizens of Largo. They're the first phone call when people call in. They're the first person that the citizens talk to. So they're fielded with a variety of calls from serious emergencies to just helping somebody find the right resources for the day. So being able to adapt and know how to serve everybody in a professional manner is something that they all do every day. Excellent. Something exciting this year. This is the 40th anniversary of our dispatch center, and I was close on the date, but I learned from a reliable source that it was on April 1st. April Fool's Day was the opening 40 years ago. So we knew we were close in April, but we didn't have an exact date. But we found somebody of seniority that provided that information to us. So I would like to add, too, our dispatchers are amazing. We've been blessed to get the opportunity to try some new software packages, suites out there, and most of those are related to the dispatch center. And they've really adapted and done an excellent job using that software and learning the new tricks and trades to help better serve our community. So again, my hat's off to them. Next week will be our special week where we get to celebrate them all week. But we appreciate the time to recognize them tonight. Thank you.
Next, we will have Chief McDonald give us some great information, information from our fire department.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for letting us be here tonight. Chris McDonald, Division Chief of Operations. Mr. Mayor, Commission, I'm here tonight to formally recognize Largo Fire Rescue for receiving an ISO rating of 1. We got a little slide presentation here we're going to start as well.
Oh.
All right. So this is a very proud moment for Largo Fire Rescue. Our department was recently evaluated by ISO, which is the Insurance Services Office, and we were evaluated to see how well equipped and how well staffed we are to fight fire in the local community. Now, ISO uses a rating scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the best, and they report this score to the local homeowners insurance companies. And the lower the ISO rating is for the fire department, there's a potential cost savings of homeowners insurance. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. Some of the criteria that ISO utilizes in evaluating fire departments It's equipment, staffing, it's the operations, it's the training, it's the community risk reduction efforts, it's the fire prevention, water supply, and emergency communications, to include public education as well. Next slide. This next slide is a proud moment for us to talk about. Out of the nearly 40,000 fire departments that are in the United States that are rated by ISO, Largo is one of only 393 that have a Class 1 rating. We're very proud of that. So that's why we're here tonight. We're here to say thank you to the commission, to the residents, and all 157 men and women of Largo Fire Rescue for your support, hard work, and dedication to help us maintain this Class 1 rating. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we're going to recognize some great work. Mr. Subert.
It's my pleasure this evening to recognize the leadership of two individuals in our fire rescue department. We're coming up now. Through the stress and fear of this past year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our organization has experienced exceptional work and dedication to serving the Largo community. Team members in every department thought innovatively about how to adapt services while collaborating across departments and divisions to continue the great progress of our work. In this time, two Largo Fire Rescue individuals stand out as great examples of our organizational values of integrity, creativity, passion, and collaboration. And those individuals who are standing before you this evening are Division Chief Terry Tokars and Assistant Chief Mike Carpenter. Give a little background on this. The Largo Fire Rescue Department managed a COVID-19 vaccination site at our Highland Recreation Complex for a 6-week period starting January 20th. This clinic was managed in collaboration with Pinellas County, including the Health Department and the Emergency Management Division. It also included numerous individuals from numerous departments around the county and also within our own city organization. Over the 6-week period, these folks vaccinated 5,038 Florida residents over the age of 65, and I'm happy to say I was one of them, and 702 healthcare workers. The total shots administered were 11,467. While people were waiting after their shot for their 15 or 30-minute period, we also shared with them some information on life-saving tips regarding things like smoke detectors and other safety measures. Congressman Charlie Crist also visited the vaccination center and was very impressed with the operation, as he was able to go through the whole process with a couple who were Largo residents. So he got to see the whole thing step by step. As all of you are aware, we've got numerous emails and other communications from Largo residents thanking us for how well this facility was operated. And I'm just going to read 3 of those quotes, very similar to most of the communications we got. I would like to say thank you to the Largo EMS and Fire for the wonderful job they have done at the Highland Rec Center for the COVID vaccine shot. You did a wonderful job, greatly appreciated. I just received my COVID vaccine at Highland Recreation Center. Largo Fire and Rescue assisted in administering these shots. Everything was perfectly organized and very little wait time. The gentlemen working were caring and patient. I thank them for all they do. And finally, thanks to all who participated in the COVID vaccine clinic. Everything was so efficient and courteous. Good job and much appreciated. You're the best. We always knew they were the best. The significant number of people participated in this, and these two gentlemen would be the first ones to acknowledge that. We had 25 employees in the fire department over that 6-week period that participated in the clinic. The Largo Police Department provided security, and that involved 42 officers over that time. It was obviously in a recreation center, so 11 employees from recreation were involved. Our communications and engagement staff were involved in publicity and signage at the site. There were participants from numerous other agencies around the county, including Clearwater, Safety Harbor, Palm Harbor, East Lake, South Pasadena, Sunstar, Tarpon Springs, Treasure Island, and Pinellas County. So you can see how complicated this was to manage this operation. These gentlemen are a credit to the City of Largo and our mission to provide superior services that inspire community pride. I think they also proved that with outstanding leadership, government can provide efficient and effective services that enhance the lives of our residents. So, gentlemen, I just want to thank you so very much for your leadership in managing this very important service to our community, and I'd like to present you with these tokens of our appreciation. Doing these one at a time, I didn't want to drop them.
Mayor, may I make a comment? Yeah. So I'm sure that, the recognition from Congressman Christ and the residents and the city is great, but I just want to let you know that my mom thought it was fantastic. So in all seriousness, thank you guys for everything you did. It was great.
I second that too. My mom was like, that was amazing.
I got to walk through, I was there the day after, I almost said Governor Chris, former Governor Chris, because I didn't want to be there with all the cameras. I just wanted to kind of see it naturally, and it's amazing how many people, the few people that were waiting and the people that were in the process all seemed like delighted to be there. I'm sure that was the same at most vaccination shots, because a lot of people were really anxious about getting to that point. But you guys made it really nice for the people that came through, the 11,000 folks that came and got a shot. And I since then I've got to the age that they'll give one to me, so that's nice. Mm-hmm. Or the age lowered to that point. But thank you for all that you've done. Thank you. Next up, we'll have citizens' comment. If you'd like to speak about something that's on the agenda outside of the consent docket, please wait until that item comes up. Do we have any cards?
No, we have no cards tonight.
All right, next is approval of the agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next is approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of March 16th, 2021.
I move approval.
Second.
Any corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Could I hear the consent docket, please?
Item 7, awarded bid number 21-RB-717, sanitary sewer line cleaning and video inspection to Granite Inliner LLC in the estimated amount of $262,760.05. Item 8, approval to amend the engineering design and construction standards wastewater (WW) section and drainage (DD) section. Item 9, authorization to purchase, support, hosting, and storage for ViewWorks Enterprise Asset Management System from Data Transfer Solutions in the estimated amount of $74,000. Item 10, authorization to purchase technical support services for the police and community development departments for a 1-year period from Central Square Technologies in the estimated amount of $332,700. Item 11, award of RFP number 21-P-208, elevator maintenance to ThyssenKrupp Elevator Corporation for a 3-year period in the estimated annual amount of $21,600. Item 12, authorization to use LifeScan Wellness Centers to provide required annual firefighter medical evaluations and fitness evaluations for fire department personnel in the estimated amount of $71,139.
Thank you. You've heard the consent docket. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent docket without commission discussion and including staff background provided in the commission packets.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next is a public hearing, ordinance number 2021-41.
Good evening. The next 7 ordinances are the second and final reading for the annexation of 7 properties. The total taxable value for these properties is a little over $650,000 and will add an additional 2.25 acres to the municipal boundary. The land use for these properties are residential low and commercial general. All requirements specified in Chapter 171 of the state statute have been met, including the advertisements which were published in March 24th and March 31st. The properties are contiguous to the municipal boundaries through previous annexations, and together they work to help reduce the size of previous enclaves. The ordinance proposes to annex property that is compact that term as defined in Chapter 171. Therefore, it is staff's opinion that the properties be annexed voluntarily in accordance with Chapter 171. Pinellas County Board of County Commission and Pinellas County Planning have been noticed and did not provide any objections. All city departments have reviewed this annexation and indicated services can be provided to these properties. Staff is available for questions at this time. Thank you.
Ordinance number 2021-41, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, annexing the within described tract of land located at 338 14th Avenue Southwest, Pinellas County, Florida, and contiguous to the existing city limits of the City of Largo, Florida, with city land use designation of residential low, redefining the corporate boundary of the City of Largo to include said addition according to the provisions of Chapter 171 Florida statutes, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on any of these 7 ordinances?
I do not.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2021-41 on second and final reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Oh,
opposed?
sorry. I was wondering. I didn't know if we could do them all at once since you had asked. That's why. Okay,
No, we'll do them one at a time.
Okay.
But if any public comment comes in,
we'll stop. Okay.
I did have a motion and a second. Could we take another vote again? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Ordinance number 2021-42, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, annexing the within described tract of land located at 315 15th Avenue Southwest, Pinellas County, Florida, and contiguous to the existing city limits of the City of Largo, Florida, with city land use designation of residential low, redefining the corporate boundary of the City of Largo to include said addition, according to the provisions of Chapter 171 Florida statutes, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2021-42 on second and final reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Ordinance number 2021-43, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, annexing the within described tract of land located at 122 16th Avenue Southwest, Pinellas County, Florida, and contiguous to the existing city limits of the City of Largo, Florida, with city land use designation of residential low, redefining the corporate boundary of the City of Largo to include said addition, according to the provisions of Chapter 171 Florida statutes, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2021-43 on second and final reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Ordinance number 2021-44, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, annexing the within described tract of land located at 2223 Barber Drive, Pinellas County, Florida, and contiguous to the existing city limits of the City of Largo, Florida, with city land use designation of residential low, redefining the corporate boundary of the City of Largo to include said addition, according to the provisions of Chapter 171 Florida statutes, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2021-44 on second and final reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Ordinance number 2021-45, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, annexing the within described tract of land located at 2228 Barber Drive, Pinellas County, Florida, and contiguous to the existing city limits of the City of Largo, Florida, with city land use designation of residential low, redefining the corporate boundary of the City of Largo to include said addition according to the provisions of Chapter 171 Florida statutes, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2021-45 on second and final reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Ordinance number 2021-47, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, annexing the within described tract of land located at 13701 Audrey Lane, Pinellas County, Florida, and contiguous to the existing city limits of the City of Largo, Florida, with city land use designation of residential urban, redefining the corporate boundary of the City of Largo to include said addition according to the provisions of Chapter 171 Florida statutes, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2021-47 on second and final hearing or reading.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Ordinance number 2021-48, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, annexing the within described tract of land located on the west side of U.S. Highway 19 North, north of Ulmerton Road, south of 142nd Avenue North, and east of 66th Street North, Pinellas County, Florida, and contiguous to the existing city limits of the City of Largo, Florida, with city land use designation of commercial general, redefining the corporate boundary of the City of Largo to include said addition, according to the provisions of Chapter 171 Florida statutes, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2021-48 on second and final reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Next up is ordinance number 2021-33.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. This next item is to adopt the Florida Building Code 7th edition, repealing the mobile home 48-inch above grade minimum height requirement. And this item went through first reading on the 2nd and passed 7-0. There have been no changes to the amendments since that time, and I'm open for any questions.
Ordinance number 2021-33, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the City of Largo Comprehensive Development Code by amending subsections 1.1, 4.4.5, 12.7, 15.37C, 16.2.4, 16.8.2, 18.1.1A, and 18.2.9B3 to adopt the Florida Building Code 7th edition, parentheses 2020, and repealing subsection 11.176B, requiring that the bottom of the frame of mobile homes be 48 inches above grade, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
I have no cards.
Any questions from the commission?
I move to adopt ordinance number 2021-33 on second and final reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next is ordinance number 2021-29.
Good evening. The item before you is the second and final reading of a small-scale future land use map amendment for property located at 6021 142nd Avenue North. The applicant is requesting to change the land use classification from institutional to residential office general. The proposed future land use map amendment was reviewed and recommended for approval by the City of Largo Planning Board on December 3rd, 2020, and approval from the City Commission at first reading to transmit the small-scale future land use map amendment to Forward Pinellas as a Tier 2 small-scale future land use amendment. The proposed map amendment was unanimously approved by Forward Pinellas Planners Advisory Committee and the Pinellas Planning Council, and ultimately the Countywide Planning Authority approved it as well on March 9, 2021. There have been no changes since first reading, and staff recommends approval of the proposed flume amendment and is available for questions.
Ordinance number 2021-29, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the City of Largo Comprehensive Plan future land use map by amending the classification of the within described tracts of land located at 6021 142nd Avenue North from institutional, parentheses I, to residential office general, parentheses ROG, consistent with the City of Largo Comprehensive Plan, amending the future land use map on file in the office of the city clerk pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 163, Part 2 Florida statutes and the Pinellas County-wide plan rules, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment on this?
I have no public comment.
Any questions from the commission?
I move to adopt ordinance number 2021-29 on second and final reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next is ordinance number 2021-49.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. This is the second reading of ordinance 2021-49. This is a budget amendment amending the FY 2021 budget in the amount of $6.2 million for City Hall Capital Project Fund expenditures. This budget amendment also creates that City Hall Capital Project Fund. This will be a fund used just for the City Hall Capital Project to allow for all of the accounting related to the project. It will be displayed in the FY 22 proposed budget on July 1st. And it'll provide that transparency and visibility for that project as we go forward. This budget amendment also transfers an existing appropriation that was in the FY21 budget to this fund, as well as appropriating money for land purchases that were unknown at the time of the FY21 budget development, but have since been underway. There were no changes from first reading, and staff's available for any questions.
Ordinance number 2021-49, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2021 budget adopted by resolution number 2279 by appropriating expenditures in the amount of $3,400,000 in the General Operating Department City Hall Capital Project Fund budget and transferring an existing appropriation of $2,800,000 within the General Operating Department General Fund budget to the General Operating Department City Hall Capital Project Fund, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
I have no cards.
Any questions from the commission?
I move to adopt ordinance number 2021-49 on second and final reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next is item number 17.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commission. We are so pleased to be able to present this item to you all this evening. Before I get started specifically on this item, I want to acknowledge something that I know we've been celebrating, and that is that the City of Largo has been named a Top Workplace USA and a Top Workplace by the Tampa Bay Times, in very good company with Baycare and Progressive Insurance and other very large companies. And that is because of our employee engagement, which speaks a lot to this item this evening that we're looking at. The city has done so much to reach out to employees and make sure that we're a sustainable workforce. That was a very important goal of ours as a city, sustainability. Our playbook for 2020, last year during such a stressful time with COVID, was to ensure that we as a city of Largo are sustainable and that we can continue to attract and retain excellent talent here at the City of Largo to provide superior services that inspire community pride and continue us on our journey to be the community of choice in Tampa Bay. Along those lines, we have a lot of moving parts to our organization, as you all know. We have collective bargaining agreements that cause us to look at pay and benefits every 3 years for our represented employees. That doesn't really happen for our non-represented employees. The last time we really took a good look at our employee benefits was 2010, 2011. So that was something that we felt in our 2020 playbook under the guise of sustainability that we really wanted to take a good look at. So under our high-performing organization, our HPO guidance, there were 3 teams that were created, employee teams, to look at these really important things that we offer our employees every day, our employee benefits. But As we are a city of Largo, we take on many projects concurrently that happen at the same time. So not only are we constantly working on our high-performing organization goal, we also transitioned to Workday. And that was a transition that we just recently implemented, and it was about an 18-month process for us. So that was going on. Additionally, we had a new compensation and classification project that created an updated, considerably updated compensation and classification system. So with those three moving parts, we needed to rest our benefit structure within that. So there were 3 different committees, one looking at paid leave benefits, which you had seen with parental leave, and we saw with that extra bereavement day for employees. We had another group looking at the personal insurance credits. And as I mentioned the Workday project, and I mentioned other projects, there were certain things we needed to accomplish with our benefits program and this particular committee, which was to simplify that particular benefit. And the last group looked at other additional benefits, which we'll get to at the end of our presentation this evening. So without further ado, we'll get with the rest of the specifics of our recommendations tonight, but that's how we got to where we're at and these very important recommendations that we are sharing with you this evening.
Okay, thank you, Susan. And Brandy, could you please advance us a couple of slides? And the next one, please. Okay, so before I start, I do want to go over some terminology because I'm going to say things over and over again. I want to make sure we're all on the same page. So Susan mentioned the personal insurance credits. I'm going to call that the PIC program or PIC dollars, PIC credits. It's used interchangeably in our benefit plan. So if I accidentally just use those terms, PIC credits, dollars, program, you'll know what I'm talking about. And those are the dollars that we give employees each year in open enrollment to purchase their benefits, health insurance, and the other suite of benefits that we offer. There's 2 components to personal insurance credits. One is the component that we give employees in order for them to pay for the city-paid portion of health insurance. And then the other one is a pot of money that they can use truly as flex spending dollars to purchase any set of benefits that they choose. And if they don't choose to elect any of those benefits, they cash them out and they are taxable income in their paycheck. So it is a complex program from those elements, and I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. So regarding the employee recommendations in the PIC program, they focus on 3 areas. The personal insurance credit program or PIC program known as flex spending, they had some recommendations there around the program itself. The existing benefit levels and the plan structure, and the health insurance and waive allowances within the PIC calculations. Regarding the PIC program, the employees value the flexible spending features, and they like that they can only buy benefits that you need and cash out the rest. The current calculation of the PIC credits, meaning why am I getting this amount of money, they said lacks clarity and doesn't really clearly communicate the value of the program. And the term PIC, personal insurance credit, really isn't valuable or meaningful and communicate what we're giving to the employees as well. So they recommended renaming the program. Then finally, if we went through all of those steps, they recommended doing education and employee engagement around the new program. And then next, around the benefit levels and the structure of the program. Currently, each benefit group has a different amount of total PIC dollars that they're awarded. So if you're a supervisor or a professional employee, you're awarded one level. If you're executive management, you're awarded a much higher level. They recommended that everyone have the same amount for health insurance and that the PIC portion for true flex spending be the same amount for all employee groups as well. And then if that were to result in a reduction to any group, that we offset that by increasing our contribution to the 401A or the city's retirement program. Then the final employee recommendation was around the health insurance and waive allowance calculations. So the team recommended that we actually not give employees PIC dollars to pay for the city's portion of health insurance. This is what we do for CWA and the PBA bargaining units. We just don't charge them for that. So that's like an unnecessary, complicated feature in the PIC program. So they recommended we stop doing that and mirror only charging the employees for the portion that they need to pay for. They also recommended that we reevaluate the amount that we offer to employees to waive health insurance. We froze this in 2012 as a result of the recession, and then left it at that level as a cost control mechanism because health insurance premiums raise every year, and it was based on a multiplier of the health insurance premium. So they recommended that we reevaluate that and see if that's still the amount that we should be giving employees to waive health insurance. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide is a visual representation of our benefit program and what it's intended to cover. Those pick points for flex spending are intended to cover life insurance, personal option days, dental insurance costs, the employee portion of the annual retirement contribution, which is based on 5% of the average annual salary by employee group, and then finally the city paid portion of the health insurance premium. There are several variable cost drivers that are based on salary and other demographic data of employees, which means that the benefits can change up or down in any given year with the average age group calculations or average annual salary calculations changing. And that wasn't very clear to employees why those changes were happening. Next slide, please. So you want to talk about first, what were we actually intending to do with our benefit program? Because this will help inform the goals of our benefit restructure. So the personal insurance credit dollars are intended to cover that average cost of 3 personal option days that the employee would purchase. That's based on their salary. The average cost of supplemental life, which is 1 times their annual salary. 100% of single dental insurance coverage, and the average cost of the employee's 5% contribution to their 401A retirement plan. And we'll note the city does match that and provide 6% contribution as well. And then finally, the city intends to add dollars to cover the 90% of the single health insurance premium or 75% of dual and family. So a few notes on those calculations. When we use averages, that means there are those variable cost calculation drivers, like I mentioned. And if you happen to change your health insurance coverage from dual to family or back down to single or something like that, then your pick dollars will change and it may not be very clear to you why that's happening. So that came from the employee recommendations. And then finally, regarding the health insurance waive allowance, this has long been a recruitment tool for non-represented employees who may qualify for coverage on other group health insurance plans through either the military or their spouse. So in the past, we did recalculate this each year, and then since then it has been frozen. So we needed to look at that one more time. Next slide, please. So the new benefit program goals, all of these committees did report to an executive steering committee made up of members of the city's executive leadership team, and they set out some parameters and some goals for the new benefit program. And based on the employee recommendations and some of the goals that Susan talked about with Workday, they set out 3 broad focus areas for the new plan. One was transparency and equity. Let's pay employees for the benefits that they should be receiving, not average-based calculations, and let's make it transparent so they know what they're receiving their benefit money on. Next is recruitment and retention. We really do want to provide those superior services, so let's make sure our structure and our competitiveness is thoroughly evaluated and changed if necessary. And then finally, regarding efficiency and effectiveness, like Susan said, we needed to make sure that all of these new calculations worked within Workday. Next slide, please. So here's the visual representation of the new benefit program. You can see already it's simplified. There's fewer circles on there. And over the next couple of slides, I'll go through the changes. Next slide, please. So first, regarding health insurance, the city paid percentage. We did some research on surrounding communities, and the employee team found out that we were lagging on the percent of health insurance premium costs paid for by the city. The new benefit proposal here includes increasing the 90% of single or core to 95%, which is the amount currently provided for our CWA bargaining unit. So we would extend this to our non-represented unit, and I'm sure that would be a collective bargaining topic with IF and PBA as well eventually. And then in terms of benefit administration for non-rep, we are proposing to no longer provide the PIC dollars for health insurance and instead just charge that 5% or 25% differential for the premium that the employee needs to pay. Next slide, please. The health insurance waive allowance. For those employees who do qualify to waive health insurance, we're proposing to implement a flat dollar amount for all 4 non-represented employee groups. The steering committee felt that this is not something that should vary based on your position in the organization, because the cost of insurance doesn't vary based on your position. So the waive amount presented here has been recalculated based on the 95% of single core. This is a net increase for all groups, except you can see there for the executive management group, and I'll discuss the impact of that at the end of this presentation. Next slide. So the city paid retirement contributions. Recall earlier that the employee is required to contribute 5% of their annual salary toward their retirement, and we provide PIC dollars to offset that cost. The city currently matches its contribution at 6% for general employees and 7.5% for executive management. Based on the research of surrounding communities and the prevalence of the Florida retirement system and other defined benefit or pension programs, we're proposing to increase the retirement contribution for all 4 non-represented groups as depicted in this chart. You'll also see the new benefit group for senior management, formerly the operational managers, depicted on this chart. Next slide. Regarding the PIC or flex spending changes, you notice I keep trying to drop the term flex spending in there to help with the rename of the program. We do intend to do that, and maybe do some rebranding of the program so that employees know that these are truly flexible spending dollars. What you see on this chart is the current PIC dollars rounded up to account for inflation, and then a new benefit group created for senior management. The steering committee did remain committed to the flexible dollars being separated by increasing ladders, so we looked at a reasonable amount between each group. We felt that the current differential between executive management and operational management of $1,200 was appropriate and could easily be implemented with that new benefit group. So you'll see here that each group now has a differential of $1,200 between them. So we'll continue to benchmark these benefit levels against the intentions of our benefit coverage outlined previously, but it won't be recalculated to the exact dollar of $3,707 every single year, because that's not exactly transparent. Next slide, please. So I've been talking a lot about increases, so I'm sure you're wondering what this costs. Cost is always a consideration when making any changes to the way we operate and the services we provide to the community. These cost estimates represent an investment in our employees who serve the community and aligns with our strategic plan goal to promote organizational excellence by attracting and retaining a high-quality workforce. So let's walk through this. Our health insurance increased from 90 to 95%, and the waive insurance changes total approximately $113,000. The personal insurance credit or flex spending changes total approximately $52,000, and the retirement contribution increases total approximately $129,000. So the grand total on all of those changes are about $294,000 for the FY22 budget. Personnel is split between multiple funds in the city, with about 60 to 70% of that being in the general fund. Next slide, please. So I did mention previously that some employees are losing benefit dollars. It is not only the executive management, but also a few operational managers who in the new pay plan are slotted to move to the supervisory from the operational management portion of the pay plan. So, excuse me. It's a total of 12 impacted employees, 7 members of the executive management team that waive health insurance. Those members are losing a very small amount of benefit dollars, and there are also 5 employees that are changing their classification from operational manager to supervisory. The actual impact there is also very small. We're talking a few $100s a year for each employee, so we would just adjust their salary so they did not lose that money in their biweekly paycheck. Next slide, please. So Susan mentioned some other recommendations on paid leave benefits. We've heard about the parental leave, and we've also heard about the bereavement leave. We had an additional recommendation from both the paid leave benefit team and the city's Veterans Committee, and that would be adding Veterans Day as a city paid holiday. This would come to the City Commission for approval in an employment guidelines update, because that is something that needs to be outlined in the employment guidelines, and we would bring that at a future date. The impact there is approximately $50,000 for those employees who work holidays. And then some other related program changes could possibly be surrounding short-term disability program, which we currently have under evaluation, and then continuing to look at the recommendations regarding sick leave, personal option leave, and vacation leave, and how we may reconfigure that if we choose to do that at all. So those are all still under consideration. We really need to get on the other side of Workday before we reconfigure Workday with new benefit leave offerings. So with that, I will turn it over to Susan, and she will go over the timeline for implementation if you all do decide to approve this structure tonight.
It was important that you always begin a project with the end date in mind, and that's exactly what we did, knowing we had Workday to deal with, and that we wanted to honor, as Mary said, I mean, we hadn't looked at these benefits in so long, and there is quite a cycle to do that with the collective bargaining process. So we wanted to make sure we were able to get these implemented in some type of a timely fashion with all the work that the groups had done. So when you look at this timeline here, you see the information we discussed earlier about the work of the groups and about the approval process, bringing it to you all to have your thoughts and hopefully approval this month. And then in May and June, getting ready for an open enrollment, because the simplification of that personal insurance credits program is so important in Workday. We're really hoping to get relief for it, that we can make some of those modifications and be able to do the open enrollment with a new structure. Something we really wanted to note, two things in particular. When the groups looked at this information, we didn't want to take benefits away from anybody. And that was a goal, that was a parameter, that was a guideline, as well as a defined benefit program for all the other employees was 100% off the table, obviously. You know, we can't afford anything like that. You know, we just got the actuarials back for the defined benefit staff that we have here, which are absolutely, that's a core benefit in public safety, and we know that. You know, when Meredith mentions the cost in 1 year, you know, it's over. You know, just what we're paying for the one benefit, it is probably $100,000 over what we're presenting to you all this evening. But with that said, that's our hope, and we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Do we have any public input on this?
I have no public input.
Any questions?
I have a comment more than a question, if I may.
Please.
I absolutely appreciate all the work that went into this. In the simplest terms, correct me if I'm wrong, in this very detailed commission memo, what jumps out at me is you're talking about an employee group of about 250 people.
Correct.
That are non-represented, so by definition, nobody represents them.
Right.
In 10 years or more, we haven't.
We do. We take care of them.
We haven't looked at these benefits. In the meantime, cost of other employee benefits across the board, as you mentioned, which again are core benefits for certain.
They're core benefits for public safety. We know that. And it's
they have fluctuated in the cost, generally going up. And these 250 employees are across the spectrum from a variety of funding sources, with 60% coming from the general fund. Then from my perspective, in the interest of maintaining and retaining a professional workforce and achieving our other goals, I find it hard not to support what you have before us today. I think it's overdue, and I think it's the end result of a lot of hard work and consideration by our folks, and I think we need to listen to them.
Thank you. As somebody that comes from the small business world where benefits are simple, if existing at all, I really appreciate the simplification of the pick points and all that craziness. It's kind of confusing. It's still kind of a confusing process, although I've been here for a couple years now. The other question, you can't tease actuarial reports without telling us whether, they look okay or they look awful.
I know. Oh, well, hey, same old, same old. Our funding level, yeah. The overall percent funding level basically stayed the same. There were assumptions that changed. So, hey, it's okay. We're going to be okay.
All right, thank you. And I thought you probably thought that would slip by.
I discussed that with Kim before. I called Kim. I'm like, it's okay.
Lastly, I'd like to point out that I like your other mask better, the UCF one.
Oh, thank you.
Commissioner Gerard.
My gator mask.
Thank you. As someone who also operated a small business for many, many years and all that, when it comes to benefits like these, you can just go home cross-eyed after going through this. So my appreciation for all the hard work that went in this. I do have a question, though. Has this been presented? I know that the 3 committees were meeting and they made the recommendations, and this is what we're looking at. Has this been presented to the non-represented employees as a group at large? And if so, what's the feedback been?
So I can handle that question. We did present it to the committee that made the recommendations, and they felt very heard and honored by the program changes and supported what we had proposed. At this point, we have not shared with all of the non-represented employees that would come after this. We needed to make sure, since it was a cost increase and a significant restructure, that first you all supported it before we put it in the budget and told everyone that it was going to happen. So that is next on the agenda, is communication with employees.
I saw something in the timeline that was coming up, but I wanted to know, I was really curious if a large portion or other than the committees. So, but that is coming up.
That is coming, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Robinson.
Thank you. Just really a comment as well. I agree with some of the other comments that have been made up here previously, and I also just wanted to say thank you for working with the people who this is going to affect, to have them, make suggestions. So I think that's very important. I'm a huge fan of getting feedback from people that are actually, that are, these changes are going into effect. So I believe that will help us a lot moving forward, and for a number of things, recruiting and other things. So thank you all for that. And I'm sure once we are able to discuss it with the non-represented employees, they will be.
They're going to be super excited, to be honest with you. They're going to love it. They're going to love it.
So thank you all very much for everything you've done.
Commissioner Smith.
Have we set a time to continue reevaluating this so it's not something that falls to the side and then we're playing catch up a little bit?
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. No, we haven't, and that's a really good point. We need to do that. We need to be more on a cyclical schedule to have it done more often, so it's not that thing that's forgotten and, oh yeah, let's do this. So yeah, we need to do that. Thank you for verbalizing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I move to approve the proposed changes to the non-represented employees benefit program.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good job.
Next up is item number 18.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This is an authorization to negotiate development agreement with Bel Air Development LLC for the property located at 800 8th Avenue Southeast. Bel Air Development LLC is the agent for the property owner of the said property and is requesting authorization to negotiate a development agreement for the redevelopment of this property. It's approximately 15.5 acres. It currently has a land use of industrial limited and is improved agricultural use at the time. The applicant is proposing to amend the future land use map to residential low medium to redevelop the site into a mixed income multifamily development utilizing incentives of the Comprehensive Development Code Chapter 14, which is the affordable housing chapter. The DA would restrict the use to include an affordable housing component and provide a conceptual site plan addressing buffering, site improvements, and other potential mitigation. Additionally, as part of the DA running concurrent with the future land use map amendment, the DA and the FLUMA will be required to go through public hearings. Property owners within 500 feet will be noticed for the planning board meeting in September. And then residents will also have an opportunity to participate in the neighborhood information meeting as part of the site plan review process. Staff is initially requesting City Commission authorization for the Development Controls Officer to negotiate a DA or development agreement with the applicant pursuant to Section 4.6.4 of the Comprehensive Development Code. If authorized to negotiate the development agreement, staff will bring back the proposed terms and conditions to the City Commission for consideration at a future meeting. The applicant is in attendance tonight, and staff is available for questions.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment on this?
I have no public comment.
Any questions? Vice Mayor Robinson.
Thank you. One request is when we do these, can we put just a picture of the property in the agenda item?
Absolutely.
It helps. I mean, I can use Google pretty well, so I can find it, but
Yep.
just, kind of helpful for everybody. And then the other thing I was in the request for development agreement from Bel Air Development, it in the first paragraph, it ends with, we propose 2 options, and I only see one.
Yes.
I couldn't Google that. So is there another option?
Yes, I can actually speak to that. There was initially 2 options. One, city staff were not comfortable moving forward with, so we had them remove it, but that is a remnant from the first letter. They revised it.
Perfect. What you're recommending is kind of what this first option is?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Carroll.
Yeah, not to get too far ahead, but knowing this area quite well, I know when you start to negotiate and you plan for the future development down there, you have to pay very, very close attention to what that roadway can handle, because we have some citizens in that vicinity that frequently let us know about high traffic and high speed. So some of that roadway down there is in the county, I know, and that's going to be a hot button item as this goes forward. That's all, just for information.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I had just a couple quick questions on this. So I know this is early on, but the applicant intends to seek a density bonus of 5 units per acre. Is that correct?
Yes, so what they're looking to do is through the future land use map amendment process, if that were to concurrently go through the process with the development agreement and were to be approved, they would be getting 15 units an acre plus the density bonus from Chapter 14, which would, it would give them the 10 units an acre plus the 5 units from Chapter 14, bringing them to 15 units an acre.
Okay, good. I didn't read it that way. I read it 15 plus 10, so good. The other question I had was, do we know how many properties are within that 500 feet?
We do not. We pull the radius though, so when they are ready to do the public notice, staff will pull all the addresses within 500 feet. We haven't run that yet.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Robinson.
So just last question. This property is on 8th Avenue, correct? Is it any of the housing? I think it's Donegan that it turns into there. Is it any of the houses there or just the cow pasture?
It's where, yes, exactly. You see livestock there. It's just east of the middle school, but it's big open field right now. That's it. It doesn't include the 2 house properties. Those are kind of carved out on the east side.
Yeah, okay, so one of those, there used to be some, I think they put some barns and somebody was using it as a riding stable out there. Is that still happening? This property specifically is.
That's
this property was at one point there as well.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't matter if it's not there
Might have been the
anymore, I don't really
Seckler
care,
property. I think this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the applicant is here, but this would be redeveloping that site.
Yeah, I'm fine. I was just going back to, no big deal.
Oh.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I move to authorize the Development Controls Officer to negotiate a development agreement with the Bel Air Development LLC.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, and just after we take a vote, if you could just give us a timeline moving forward, approximate, that would be great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1.
Okay, absolutely. So moving forward, it is a lengthy process, but what we're looking to do is in the next 2 weeks negotiate with the applicant. It's a requirement to bring them to a pre-DRC, which is a pre-development review committee meeting to review the concept and also go over the negotiated terms and condition. And then we'd be looking to come back May 18th for City Commission, and that would just be for the approval for the attorney to draft the development agreement. So once we get that approval, then we can actually begin drafting the development agreement, and it would come to Planning Board, and then a first reading at City Commission, and then the development agreement would drop off, and the FLUMA would continue through the process. So development only requires 2 public hearings.
When is the DRC meeting?
We are tentatively scheduling that for April 21st. I have them.
Okay.
And we will definitely invite you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Day, do you have anything this evening?
I do have one item. Good to see you all, or half of you. It's over there. The purpose of this item is to advise the City Commission that the City Attorney desires advice concerning the presently pending litigation in the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida, Tampa Division, styled Tampa Bay Waterkeeper, Our Children's Earth Foundation, and Suncoast Waterkeeper versus the City of Largo, Florida, and assigned case number 820CV01742, CEH-AAS. We therefore request that the City Commission and the City Manager, as the Chief Administrative and Executive Officer, meet in a private attorney-client session with the City's attorneys pursuant to Section 286.011 subsection 8 Florida statutes. The estimated length of the session is 1 hour. It is requested that the session be scheduled on April 20th, 2021, the date of your next regularly scheduled City Commission meeting, at 5 p.m. Unless there are any issues with that date, we will proceed to make the appropriate arrangements for notice and a court reporter to attend the attorney-client session. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Does anybody have a problem with 5 p.m. on the 20th? Is this meeting going to actually last an hour? Or would it make sense to go 4:45 if that works for folks? Because the last thing I hate is when we're rushing through one of these to finish for our 6 o'clock meeting.
I just have the estimated time from Mr. Zimmett. He anticipated that an hour should be more than enough to give you a little bit of a break between. But I'll let him know too to keep it to 45 minutes.
Okay, or let us know at the work session next week that it may take up a whole hour if that's the case. But tentatively set for 5 o'clock on the 20th.
We will do so.
Very good.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Smith.
This Saturday coming up at McGowan Nature Park, they're going to be doing a community garage sale from 9 to 1. Hopefully many people can come out and support them. They did a Feed the Turtles and food truck event a couple weeks ago, and it was a nice turnout, and they've really done a really good job out there cleaning up the park, and many people have been attending. So if you can attend it, it's this Saturday from April 10th from 9 to 1. It's a community garage sale at McGowan Nature Park, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Fenger.
Say thank you to everyone who came up tonight to discuss the Fair Housing Month as well as our Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and acknowledgement for Largo Fire Rescue for 2 different items, leadership as well as earning the Insurance Services Office rating of 1. And also thank you to Merity as well as Susan and everybody else that even physically wasn't here, but that we know were working and on our employee engagement projects and making it a great place to work. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gerard.
Thank you. I'd like to say congratulations and welcome to our 6 new Largo police officers who were sworn in this afternoon. They come from all over, and as a matter of fact, we have one who actually served 25 years on the Tampa Police Department, but had not finished serving, so he came over here to Largo, and we're very, very fortunate to have such qualified and dedicated people. And also want to congratulate the Largo Fire Department for their ISO rating. That is really extraordinary. Only 390, I think, or 393 out of 40,000 departments to get something like that. That's talks a lot about the quality of the city and the services that we provide. And also to Fire Chief Division Chief Tokars and to Assistant Chief Carpenter. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Robinson.
Just wanted to welcome Commissioner Finger back. I know it's been a long time since we've had her in the building, and it's nice to have everybody back in the house. So thank you.
Commissioner Finger is in the building.
I actually, when I said Commissioner Finger, I kind of went like this. And you've been sitting over there for a little while. All right. Commissioner Hulk.
So along the lines of what other people have said already tonight, I was looking over our agenda and looking at the fair housing and the public safety telecommunicators, our ISO rating, our leadership for fire rescue and the handling of COVID. And we just had some really, really great things on tonight's agenda, and the work that Susan and Meredy did, and including the fact that we include so many of our employees in helping with the decisions that we all make up here. I was just a little bit overwhelmed tonight thinking how proud I am to be part of the city and how amazing our employees are and the leadership here and how much I enjoy working with everybody. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Carroll.
Just a couple quick things. The recognition of the telecommunicators, I have to admit that I was the chief source on opening on April Fool's Day. Back in those days, it was a joint police and fire dispatch for Largo Police and Fire. And when the calls came in, the dispatcher would write with a pen on the card, timestamp it, and send it to dispatch. And the officers had one radio. It was a portable radio that you plugged into a repeater in your car, and if you thought about it, you got it when you got out of the car. So the reason I say that is just it's kind of amazing how far technology has brought us and what they're doing today. Second item I had was last Monday I attended the CDAB meeting, and I was once again very, very impressed by how serious those board members take their role as they quizzed and questioned applicants for some money from some different grant opportunities that the city's administering. But they did also, I bring back to you guys, they did have a lot of questions about our efforts at annexation in the Ridgecrest area, mostly because there was a presentation on annexations in general, and when the map is put up there, it kind of jumps out at you about Ridgecrest. So anyway, I took some liberty with our staff and kind of explained some of our outreach thus far and a little bit of historical perspective, but they were interested to know what they might do to facilitate better relationships and more voluntary annexation. So food for thought. And then my last item is stay tuned for the month of May as our own vice mayor will ascend from first vice president to the presidency of the Suncoast League. I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Vice Mayor, but it's been decided to do a live in-person awards thing. We could talk about that next work session, but that's going to be quite an honor to watch our Vice Mayor take the leadership reins of the Suncoast League of Cities.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Kind of along those lines, I will be sworn in tomorrow as the incoming secretary for the Pinellas County Mayor's Council. So I missed a meeting because I was sick, and I became the secretary.
Congratulations, yeah.
Sometimes it happens that way. No, actually, I did miss that meeting, but I was happy to step up. I had two interesting items that I had a few residents contact me in the last couple of weeks on both of these. One was I don't know if it's a DOT pond, but there's a pond at the corner of East Bay and Seminole that a contractor doing some work out there had to draw down and essentially take all the water out of the pond. And I had a couple different people contact me about people going out and trying to rescue turtles and ducks. And somebody said that one of our crossing guards put like 5 turtles in a box to take them over to another pond. So I understand that things like this happen where we have to remove the water for the life safety of the people that are doing the work, whatever the work. The pipe was 15 feet underground, and the bottom of this lake's probably 6 feet underground, so the water would have gone into the hole. But I think it would have been a good idea to figure out some type of plan for the wildlife that did exist in that lake ahead of time. Talk to the folks at McGow or a volunteer group or whatever, so that we didn't have just Joe Citizen scrambling to try to save the ducks and turtles that are out there. So in the future, if we know that we're going to do a drawdown of a retention pond, even if we might not, everybody knows that there's a bunch of animals that live in that thing because you drive by it all the time. So just in the future, if we could do that a little bit better. And I think it was one of our contractors that was doing the work there. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's the contractor doing the sewer work out there.
Yeah, and it makes sense that they had to take the water out of there, but it would have been good to get some help to not have to kill turtles and stuff. Another item, I had somebody contact me that has been having issues with, they take their daughter out to Largo Central Park, and there's groups of teenagers hanging out on some of the equipment, smoking cigarettes and using language that's not appropriate for a playground. I know we talked about, I don't know how long ago it was, we talked about, I think staff brought to us the idea of restricting age in some way at the Largo Central Park playground. I'd like to reconsider that and talk about it and see what staff thinks about it. I know that the police department can't really do anything for teenagers hanging out at the playground because there's no rule that says they can't be there hanging out without younger kids or adults or whatever. So with consensus from the commission, not necessarily on a rule, but to have staff bring that up, I think I'd like to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. A couple of things. Save Your Paper Shred Fest is coming up on April 17th at the Starkey Road Recycling Center. That's the 17th of April. You stay in your car, they'll just grab the stuff out of your trunk. Pinellas County just started their rental assistance grant program for if you've have trouble paying rent because of COVID, you can apply for rental assistance through the county. There's a link both on the county site as well as the City of Largo site, so you can get information for that. And then lastly, it is April, so it's Mayor's Water Challenge Month. So it's basically a challenge to have residents of Largo go on and get a little bit of information and take a pledge to try to conserve water throughout the whole year. But the month of April is when I encourage people to learn a little bit about easy ways to conserve water in your house. So it's at mywaterpledge.com, and make sure even if your address is Clearwater, you live in Largo, so put Largo. Anything else? Mr. Schubert.
Yeah, I've got 3 quick things. First of all, as you're aware, staff has conducted an RFP process for our soccer program. What we will be doing is we receive 4 proposals. Recreation staff has reviewed those proposals. We will be bringing that item to you at your next regular commission meeting, so 2 weeks from tonight. So we'll present to you the proposals, our analysis, and a recommendation as to which one we think an agreement should be negotiated with. So what we will be looking for is permission to proceed with negotiation of an agreement. Second item is as indicated by the electronic message board signs out on Rosary Road. We are going to be closing the portion of Rosary Road that's immediately adjacent to the Walmart to reconstruct that portion of the road and fix the median that's out there and the turning radius off of Missouri Avenue, amongst some other improvements. The message board signs indicated that work's going to start sometime in April. To be a little more specific, that work should be starting towards the middle of the month. So as we get a more specific date, we'll let you know, and we also need to indicate that on the message board signs.
Henry, I'm sorry, is there any underground infrastructure work going on for that project as well?
I believe there is. I think there's going to be a replacement of a Pinellas County water line.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
And then finally, with regard to the provision of electric power to the downtown plaza, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
How long is the tunnel?
About a month long. The Duke has finally received all their permits that are necessary from FDOT to put a power line underneath the roadway. They're giving us an anticipated completion date first week of May. And, they're hopeful that they should be able to get it completed before then, but that's the date they've given us for completion. And
I'm going to add to that. Some of you may have noticed that the crosswalks in the downtown area have been non-functional for a month or so now, and the brand new crosswalks. The contractor is going to be pulling those crosswalks out and replacing them with DOT approved, which they were supposed to be in the first place. So it's not going to cost us anything. And I know there's another crosswalk going in down by the trail, and it's going to be the correct crosswalk, and so that we won't have this issue. It's going to take about 6 weeks from probably Monday for that to happen. So those are going to be barricaded for about 6 more weeks.
What about the one, I was thinking about this today on Rosary that we just placed right next to Aldi?
that seems to be working fine. Yeah, the problem with the ones downtown was we were having all kinds of issues with them. They either would not work or they would stay on. They wouldn't turn off. And so we had the contractor come out numerous times to try to repair them. And ultimately the decision was made they just needed to be replaced, but with a better product. As some of you may recall, we had this exact same issue on Clearwater Largo Road several years ago, where the initial ones failed, in that case after a couple of years, and we ended up replacing them.
So just to be clear, the crosswalk on Rosary is a different brand, or is it's the same brand as what we had on West Bay? It just happens to be working?
You know, I'm not sure. I could check on that, but as far as I know, that one seems to be working fine so far.
Right, that's my concern.
Yeah.
I have a question about those crosswalks while we're talking about them. Somebody asked me, which is where today, when those lights are flashing, do the cars, I know the cars have to stop because when there's people initially start walking. Once they get across, if those are still flashing, is the car supposed to remain there until after they're done when they go off?
No, they can proceed. They're supposed to slow down, make sure there's no pedestrian, on the crosswalk. And if there's no one in the crosswalk or about to cross, yes, they can proceed.
Okay.
And the nice thing about those in the downtown area is because there's like a 12-foot median there, they only flash on one side of the road at a time. So if you're going from south to north, you press the button, it flashes just on that side. You get to the median, and you press the median, and you press a button to flash on the other side. So,
Yeah, they were just wondering whether they had to sit there till they stopped flashing completely. Okay, thank you.
Action items.
Okay, I have three things. First is a request by Vice Mayor Robinson that property photos be included for future development agreement requests. A request by Mayor Brown that future pond drawdowns include a plan for the wildlife. And a request by Mayor Brown that the issue of age limits at playgrounds be brought back to the commission.
Can I just amend mine to say, basically, if we're talking about an address, can we just put a picture of that? So most of those are coming from community development, but it helps to have a visual of, even an aerial of whatever that
Like
photo
the
is.
annexations, all the annexations.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Just some sort of visualization as to where that property is located.
The city manager, Schubert, and I've discussed that before, about having the pictures with those.
Yeah, we did, I can't remember if we did it on the most recent ones, but we did have that direction on annexation, so we were providing both a map and a photograph. Do you want a map and a photograph, or just a map?
I think just the map's fine. For
Okay.
me, I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody up here. For me, I think just having a visualization of where that property sits in Largo.
Yeah, we should be doing that on all those items that deal with the
Yeah,
piece of
right,
property,
not
yes.
necessarily the DAs, but everything
Yeah.
kind of related to that. Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.